adding medium to a cube like this and fusing it is quite a bit trickier than doing it just onto a flat wood board. You get a lot of drips that happen on the sides, and if you're not careful, that can happen before and after you fuse. And so it takes a little bit longer to do this, and it also requires you to pay a little bit more attention and not try not to drip as much. I've cut this part down quite a bit, but there were several times where I had to go back and refuse the side because of all the drips that happened. Also, turning it to work on another side before the other side has had time to cool sufficiently is another mistake that I tend to make, because when I'm recording myself I try to work really fast, and turning the cube before it's had sufficient time to cool, and it doesn't take very long, you know, just 10 seconds even, but turning it before it's cool enough to stay solid is something you want to be aware of. The shellac I'm using is clear shellac that I've added some dry black pigment to. For this moment too, you don't turn the cube before it's had time to cool. That's one of the mistakes I made here at this point, is I turned the cube before one of the sections was completely cool, and so I had to fix that a little bit. But again, one of the best things about Encaustic is how easy it is to fix things most of the time. When I add a piece of paper for collage, I really try to adhere it to the surface. I don't use anything to adhere it. I'm using adhere because I can't think of a better word. But essentially like a rub-on. I put it on the surface, and the wax is a little bit tacky for paper, so you can rub it and you can get it to lay flat for a little bit before you add the wax. And I find that when you do that while you're adding paper, it kind of helps it to lay flat after you fuse it as well. I'm using India ink here, but later on in the video I'm going to be using archival ink. That's Ranger stamp pad, and I've never used that really with Encaustic before, so it's kind of an experiment just to kind of see how it works. I wanted to see if it would be permanent, how it would look, and it worked pretty well. It smears fairly easily, so I had to once I figured that out, I kind of messed up one of the stamp images. But once I figured that out, I was able to let it dry for a while, and then I patted it with a paper towel to get the excess off, and then after that I didn't have to worry about it smearing anymore. I store most of my clear stamps in empty CD cases, and I'm using that here as an acrylic block, something to mount the stamps on, so that I can get a crisp image, or as crisp of an image as I possibly can on an encaustic surface. These images, or these surfaces are pretty smooth, so the stamping is actually turning out a lot better than I thought it would. You can see where I kind of messed up the image. Now I'm going to be working with some white pigmented shellac to kind of add a final touch to all of the sides on my cube. And I don't want the shellac to run, so I'm letting it dry for a little bit before I turn to a different side. Shellac will dry faster the thinner you apply it, but I'm applying it pretty thick right now, so it's taking a little bit longer to dry. And I decided that this stamp is just too messed up. So this is another interesting effect. I added the shellac over it, but the ink is clearly showing through the shellac. But once I do the burn, that won't matter as much. I wanted to do a close-up of the burn this time. I try to go as low as I can on my blowtorch. I tend to want to overburn the shellac, and so I'm really working on pulling back and kind of allowing those bigger chunks to kind of show through, not trying to burn every single edge. I hope you enjoyed this video. I always get nervous about showing my mistakes, and I always worry that they make me look less professional as an artist, but everyone in their journey that's how you learn. You have to try new things, you have to make mistakes, and you have to learn from those mistakes. And I know that that fear is kind of something that everybody feels. I don't think I'm alone in having that fear of making mistakes, but I'm trying to show to you guys and to myself that learning things is too important to not be willing to make mistakes. So go for things, try different things, research as much as you can, and just make those mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and then that's how you become better. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this process and learned a few things from it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.